So another fun record, and this one was my favorite of all the records. I listened to almost your entire discography, and and obviously there's great stuff. I really loved your Goldberg variations. I loved the Othello Syndrome. But the one that really surprised me how much I loved it was your collaboration with John Zorn of the Masala music. It's unbelievably beautiful. And I think, my perspective of John Zorn before listening to that record was one of, dissonance, kind of like, I don't want to sound mean, but like, it's almost like, the like audio movie kind of like chase scene, like a lot of like, it has like a very like, it's noisy at times, but there's also times where he's kind of flipping through different genres. It's all over the place. But the record you made with him is gorgeous piano music. I mean, it's incredibly melodic. It's very amazing. I was really shocked by how much I really enjoyed that record. What was the process like of working with John Zorn on that record?
I knew John Zorn. He was one of the first people I met when I moved to New York. And he, as you say, he has these different groups. Sometimes there's a lot of improvisation, but you're following a prompter who's making all these hand signals. Sometimes you're playing in a group, but he's actually conducting it. And in a way that some musicians find uncomfortable because he really gets in your face and like do this. And it's sort of, when I first started playing with him, especially when I saw other musicians that I thought, man, they would never take this from anybody, but they took it from Zorn. So that was interesting to see that. But in this case, because he had written all these songs in this collection, he asked me to just play solo piano. And so that was different because usually when I had played with him, it was group projects. And the methodology was basically that, because his music is written, or those tunes are written in this style where there's only a melody. It's never more than 3 lines. And he might have some chords, but a lot of times there's nothing. And so he leaves a lot of room. And so I would play it different ways. And he got into this thing with me where he said, just play it the different ways. Maybe I'll tell you, maybe I won't. But in the end, we'll have something to choose from. And so, there were maybe like 18 songs, and I think we did it in one day. So it was just like, try it this way, do it faster, do it slower here, break it up, maybe make it more crazy here. And then when he made his, I guess, decisions, and I had the same tape, most of the time I agree with them. I mean, there was a couple songs where I thought, I think there's one song in there that there's 2 versions of it. So, and it begins the record and ends the record because we couldn't decide which was better.
Yes.
So we said, we'll put it both. But that was really the only, and compared to other situations I've been in with him where he's very, specific about what he wants and almost dictatorial, it was very easy, because it was more like, okay, that was good, do it another way. And in that sense, you start to get freer with your playing as you get warmed up and you're playing, you're just thinking, let me try it this way. And he's not really into editing. That was another thing I was saying. Why don't you take the part of this and put it with, he's like, I don't want to do that. I want to just have these natural performances. But, and then a couple of the songs, I think I just did it once and he said, I think that's it. Especially the slower ones that were more meditative. And he has a lot of music that way. People I know him, for dissonant music or, a lot of shifts in styles. But he also has a lot of sides to his composing too. But he's very, these pieces, the Masada pieces, they've been played with all types of ensembles. And he actually used to do these tours where he would take literally like 12 groups or 15 groups, everybody playing like 15 minutes, just playing the Masada songs or this repertoire. but every time sort of doing it differently, sometimes like a duet or, quartet. And it sort of became one of these things where like, I would do it sometimes with, one time I did a duet with John Medeski. He was playing organ, I was playing piano. One time it was with duets with Mark Feldman, the violinist, or John Aravigon, a really good saxophone player. But the solo thing I think he wanted me to play more with the groups, but when he gave me the solo stuff, I was like, okay, let me try to do it a different way. Because playing solo is also a different thing. If you spend a lot of time playing in ensembles, sometimes you feel real exposed when you have to play solo. I mean, some guys are really, that's the way they play, and like Bernard, But I had to sort of try to develop, how do I do this to make it sound more full? A lot of it had to do with maybe practicing the left hand to give it more of a rhythmic feel, or because you're sort of your own rhythm section. So you have to sort of figure out how to do that part of it. So that was another really enjoyable experience to play with him like that.
Yeah, and it's, again, another fantastic record. I really, really enjoyed it. That was by far my favorite record that I listened to, going through your discography. It's really fantastic, and I highly recommend anybody who is interested in Uri to go listen to that record, because it's great. I really do enjoy it a lot.